Welcome to another wonderful winning Wednesday. I hope you are having the best day of the week, but expecting that tomorrow will be even better. Give us a moment while we set up and you can enjoy a little bit of music until we get there.
Mhm.
Great. All right, I just put it into the group as well.
Okay.
Eunice, I actually like going live at the end of the day versus in the middle of the day because there's just so much that has happened at the end of the day versus the middle of the day. At the beginning of the day, you get that feeling like, well, maybe this could happen or that could happen. But by going live at 4 p.m., it's even better than going live at 1 p.m. because now the markets have closed. And I didn't have my head down looking at the stock market all day, but I had some friends pinging me about the different things that they're seeing. And then I put my head up towards 4 p.m. and I noticed that the stock market actually ended up today. Were
Good.
you aware of that?
I was not aware. My head has been down. I had so much to do today. I haven't even, had time to do any other things except just try and push a lot of work out. So I guess that's one of the things when you do this at 4, it's like you're wrapping up the day. Um,
Uh-huh.
all everything that you had to do from morning or that you had to plan to do on this specific day, it's coming closer to the end of the day. So it's just trying to make sure that, hey, everything is out. And then we have this time when we sit in and have a conversation with all our partners and talk about business insights, business finance, and infinite banking, or um, anything business related. So it's a good time to kind of unwind from the day and
Yeah.
have some pointers here and there just about business.
Well, just to let you know, just in case if you didn't know what you're telling me that you probably didn't know, but I'm seeing
Mm,
that the S&P 500 was up 9.88% today, and the Dow is up 7.87%, so nearly 8 and 10% as a whole. And from what I'm seeing, just by quickly taking a look at the headlines, it's um, the tariffs have been paused for 90 days. So
tariffs
you know
have been
what?
paused.
Paused for
Oh,
the next 90 days. So you know what that means? Take a guess at what that means.
I mean, I would take a permanent thing versus a pause because this just means that I'm gonna be anxious for the next 90 days, waiting for that
Yeah.
90 days again.
You don't have to be anxious for the next 90 days. You have to be chill for the next 89 days. And then on the 90th day, you get to do it all over again.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, well, maybe not anxious is the term, but you are now counting and say, okay, day one, tomorrow, day two, day three, anticipating what's going to happen on the 90th day. But it is
All
what
you
it
have to do is wait for the news, and they will tell you what day it is and when you should be getting nervous that this will all happen all over again. But the funny thing, or probably not so funny thing, especially because when I looked at it, I saw that Amazon had like, shipments coming over from China with the 125% tariff on
is.
China because it went up on China, right? It went up on China. That means that Amazon is sending the stuff back. But I don't know. What do you do with a ship that's like coming over here from China, right? And you have to turn the ship back around because if you look at one of those container ships,
Because you can just, cruise and, but
bro.
I think with everything going on, I want to come go back to, while we're here, with everything going on, from especially those small business owners who have to import and export. One of the
Mm,
things that, we have to recognize is that those businesses are going through quite a lot and
mm,
trying to figure out the next steps, how to pivot, or whatever it is that they need to do. What are some of the pointers that we can share with them? I think for me, really, is be patient. I think with everything that you do, you always have to be patient. Don't act immediately, and don't make hard
absolutely.
decisions. People have to take time to figure things out, to get the correct information as well. I think we live in a world now where there's so much. I don't want to call it information, because to me, information is something of value, but there's a lot of noise, and you have to be in a position where you can sift through the noise and get correct information that you will use to make sure that your business is rightly aligned for the season that we're in.
Mm.
What are your thoughts with what would you say to other business owners right now who are trying to navigate and figure out what's the next step? How do they proceed? What should they do or should not do?
Well, basically, with all of this, a business owner should not be making, you know, 90-degree angle changes in decisions, right? A business owner should have a strategic plan that they are executing against. In developing that strategic plan, they have thought about some positive scenarios and they have also thought about some negative scenarios. They should have implemented that into their plan. So if they had to take any type of corrective action during the plan, right, they have already planned for certain of those things. I don't think, just like
Mhm.
when COVID came, I don't think many people could have planned for some of those types of events,
Yeah.
but definitely there could have been a plan because um, the president actually um, ran on the fact that tariffs were going to be a part of the portfolio, et cetera. So I don't think any small business owner should make any rash decision, understanding that we don't know how this is all going to play out, and you don't want to make a decision that is actually going to put you into a box
Mhm.
as you try to move forward. So you gotta play this out. It's almost like the advice that you would give to someone who is actually the advice that you would give to someone who is actually investing. Unless that person needed to retire in the next 1 or 2 years, that person should have probably moved to have more bonds and lower risk type of items inside of their portfolio. That way, for money that they needed to pull out of the market, they wouldn't really be impacted by the changes that have happened recently. right? But if you have 5 or 10 years, this is going to be something that's going to be a hiccup, and we'll look back in 2035 and we'll be saying to ourselves, "You see, that wasn't much of a problem."
Mm. I think one of
But
the things also that I was speaking with one of our clients, and one of the things that we were talking about is just that when you, as a business, when you have access to funding,
hmm
when markets shift and changed, and you need to ensure that you still can pay bills even if your sales are affected negatively for a period of time, having that cushion somewhere or having that access to those funds somewhere is really beneficial, because for some businesses, a day or two without having hitting the numbers that they had projected could be detrimental to the business. However, when you have access to cash, you know that, okay, even if I hit hiccups for the next 2 3 days, I still have access to funds that I can make use of if I have bills for the business to pay, if I have employees that I need to pay. So it goes back to what we've always been talking about on this platform here, that as a business, cash flow is king, right? And it's important to just make sure that you access and find out all the different ways in which your business can have access to cash and have resources, so that on days or those unexpected days, your business can stand because you still have cash that you can use, either put onto the business or pay bills using.
well, you mentioned cash is king, and I always say if cash is king, then credit is
As
queen,
king. Yep. Yep.
right? I've said that so many times before. You have to have, if you're going to be a viable business, you plan for they call it your known unknowns. Like
Hmm.
you said, this could happen, but it's the contingencies that you need to have in place for your unknown unknowns
Yeah.
that are scary and that you can't plan for. That's the things that can move people out of business. And, I talk to business owners every day when we're having conversations about their capital requirements for their business, how we could help them with business credit, you
Hmm.
know, and working their way through the different lines of tiers, etc. So that's what I do on a daily basis. And I've had many different conversations with many different uh, potential clients about some of the challenges that they're seeing in the environment right now and how we might be able to help them. The critical thing is that business owners need to understand their corporate credit profile.
Yeah.
And not only do they need to understand their corporate credit profile, but they need to understand what is it that they can do to improve it.
Hmm.
Right. So it's not going to be a process that happens overnight, but it is definitely a process that can be fixed over the next, 3, 6, 9, 12 months. Is definitely something that can be doable because we've had many conversations with many different clients, as well as we have also done this ourselves for the businesses that we have and the services that we are offering.
Yeah, I think the same way as I know that right now, if you go to either TikTok or Instagram, there's always a lot of businesses that are offering credit repair for individuals, right?
hmm
There's a lot of services that are available out there. Business owners need to realize that there are services that are also available out there to help them establish that business credit. And if you feel like maybe you started at some point but let it go, or whatever the case might be, there are businesses available out there that can help you, because that is a critical aspect of your business.
hmm
As long as you have established that business credit, that
hmm
opens more doors for your business versus someone who does not, right? So you want to always look for ways in which you can set your business apart, or be a step ahead of the rest, just to make sure that your business is has the resources that it may need for whatever may come your way. So, yes, there are businesses. We do have business credit. We do work with a lot of clients who say, I'm looking to expand the business. However, I'm not in a position right now to do it because my personal credit is not as great because of the business, right? So, we do work with clients like that to just make sure that we set them on the right course and we help them access funds for their businesses.
Well, everything that you said is a valid point, but we could actually even turn that around just a little bit, understanding how critical the owner is to the business, right? So that
Yeah.
business owner is very critical to the business. If that business owner should get sick or whatever happens, that business may not be able to survive without that owner being of health. So what happens there? That business owner is not able to go to work. That business owner is going to be needing access to insurance, but not only just health insurance to keep them healthy, but what happens if that business owner is now removed from the picture? That
Mm-hmm.
business owner would have to have some type of life insurance to prepare if that business owner were removed from the picture. But you know, having that conversation about life insurance is something that is a little bit uncomfortable, right? Let's just say having that conversation about the end of your life is not an easy one to have,
Yeah.
but it's something if you are going to be a business owner, a thing that you need to have a conversation about. But there is a benefit to moving forward with having an insurance policy, especially a well structured cash value life insurance policy, because the business owner can tap into that policy, right, when cash flow is just a little bit tight. What I like about it the best is the fact that the interest rate on that loan is usually going to be somewhere around prime, right? So if you were to go to a traditional bank, a regional bank, a commercial bank, they're probably going to charge you prime plus two or SOFR plus two, right? Which is going to put you today in the sevens and eights, nines range, right? However, if you had access to a whole life insurance policy that's been structured and designed properly, which is something that VIP Insurers actually does for our clients, then that means that our client can tap into that policy during times of those unknown unknowns. And that just makes a whole lot of sense to me.
It does. It does. And for me personally, as an African, I talk to a lot of other Africans who have nursing companies, right? And or what and the conversation typically goes around, having life insurance like that. It's like you are saying you are preparing for death. And I said, well, death is going to happen to all of us, so why not prepare for it then versus it just coming, because it is coming and your loved ones are not prepared or have nothing that they can offer you. Unfortunately, GoFundMe is not a policy and is not a plan that we should put in place, right? So, when you do run that business, you have to ensure that you protect yourself, you protect your family, and put these things in place so that when it is your time and you pass on, that your loved ones will have access to funds, one, possibly to help them keep the business running while they figure things out, if they especially if they were not a major part of the running of the business. You have
Yeah.
companies where you find, there is a couple and not one partner may be pretty much involved and the other may not. So in
Hmm.
those instances, those funds come in and they help you as you navigate and as you go through grief, right? That's important. And not only that, you have the opportunity as you are still alive today, and as you just mentioned, that when you are in need of funding, you can tap into that policy as well at a much lower rate versus if you go walk into a bank now to get your personal loan, it's going to be more pricier that way versus going and tapping into your your life insurance, right? So all these things really are there for you to ensure that your business is given the best shot to continue being a going concern even after you have passed on. Even when there is crisis and you are in need of funds, it gives you that best shot because you'll have access to way much cheaper finance versus another person who may not, right? So all these things are really there. It's really up to us as business owners to tap into these things, to educate ourselves on these things, to just make sure that we are doing all that we can to safeguard these businesses that we are working so hard on to establish, to grow, and to have them where they are. Because like I said when we started this session today, I've been working pretty much since 8 in the morning, and I'm taking my kind of break now, and we're having this conversation. So all this hard work that I'm doing, I don't want it to go to waste. I don't want it to be such that the day that I die, then the business also closes its doors because I'm no longer there to carry on when there is a possibility that I can have some type of funding to help the business continue as my spouse, you, or my kids, or someone else takes over the business and continues with it.
Yeah, no, I think that there's a quote, and don't hold me to it. Insurance is something you need but never want to use,
Yeah,
right? It's something that
that's
you
good.
need but never want to use. So if that's going to be the case, and we could actually help those in our community, right? Let's continue to drive on because that is our passion, that is our purpose. That's why we do many of the things that we actually do. I opened it up for questions, Eunice. And I don't see anyone having put any questions into the chat at this moment,
Hmm.
right? Um, except for my cousin Kinroy Spider, right? Agree with the proper guidelines, etc. So let's all right. Let's close out today's session with you and asking one question and I try to answer it and vice versa, right? You ask me, I ask you a question and you try to answer it, and then we'll close out for today. And everybody can get back to their wonderful winning Wednesday. Go ahead, Eunice, on you.
Oh, why don't you go first?
Right. Let's see. Mortgage rates are now below 6%. It is also the spring buying season. How would you advise for those who are in the market looking to purchase a house? What would you advise them to do now that mortgages are in that 6% range?
I mean, the last I checked, I think it was about 6.85, which is still low and a good rate. Like I've said, and I always say, with real estate, the mindset is you buy now and you wait,
Hmm.
right? Because interest rates will fluctuate. However, your property value will always historically appreciate or go up. So right now with spring around the corner, or I guess it's spring already. It's just that the weather hasn't been the best. However, with spring, we know that in spring, that's when there is a lot of transactions happening around here in Northern Virginia. There's a lot that's going on. A lot of homes are coming on the market. If you are looking, this is the perfect time for you to get into your home. You will most likely be in your home by the summer before people start traveling and enjoying summer. This is the best time for you to buy your home. There's more inventory versus in the winters where there isn't as much inventory going on. So you have options. If you've thought about it, this is the perfect time to even just get in touch so that we can run numbers for you to really determine where you are at, if you need any more work to do, or if you're ready to transact and then take it from there.
Great. I see you on the index over here. It's telling me that yesterday mortgage rates were at 6.7. Today they closed at 6.61. You know, mortgage rates move three times in a day. So lock in, try to get under six. If it does make it to the fours, the fives, or the threes, you know, you could always refinance at that point in time. So you have options, but hopefully, you know, the trajectory shows that home appreciation, I think it's going up on average in the United States at 4% per year, right? So on a $600,000 home, I believe that equates to about $24,000 in appreciation per year. And if you are renting, right, that is money that you can never count on as equity, right? So let's go. Eunice, you got a question for me.
Yes. The number one question that I hear a lot of business owners ask is how long does it take to establish business credit, and uh, what is my cost, or how can I get to do it? Can I even afford it?
So that's similar. I'm going to share this question that's coming in from Ken Roy. What will or what is good advice for me that want to go into business now that I'm about to retire from the military, i.e., house project, vehicle sale for government workers, etc. So that can go in a number of different ways. And one of the things that I advise small business owners as they are having that conversation about what business are they going to go into, it's really going to be a conversation about let's work through your business plan, right? And inside of your business plan, we're going to have a conversation about who is your customer, right? And then we have to develop that avatar of who is your customer so that that customer is known, right? Because then once we know more about that customer, we can then help them to decide whether or not if the product that you are going to be selling to that customer fits within their buy box,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's where we were when we first started with this. And thank goodness for Eric at the Small Business Development Center. He had us read a book called Talking to Humans, and Talking to Humans actually helped us to get really focused on who our customers were going to be. We developed avatars and we developed those buy boxes for those avatars so that we know who they are and we know how to sell to them, we know how to market to them, we know how to do many things to them. Right. I think at this point in time, the last business plan that we created was about 60, 70 pages at this point in time, right?
Yeah.
When you include all of the financials, etc. So to answer your question, Kenroy, it's not something that can be answered in 5 minutes, but it's definitely a conversation that I'll reach out to you so that we can have further discussions to understand, you know, who is your customer, how do they buy, so that we can make sure that the product that you're going to be offering them, whether that's housing or automobiles, etc., how they're going to be able to purchase that from you to a point where you are able to get a margin that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. All right, Eunice, I think we are at our 30-minute stop, right? So we just wanted to come on and talk about business for small business owners. This is what we do, this is how we do it. We like to have this conversation on Wednesdays because it's as hump day. Hopefully I can find that commercial with the camel, I believe it was, who talks about hump day. But also we want to leave you with a set of positive energy to know that, we call it wonderful winning Wednesdays. That's going to be the hashtag that we associate with this go live, with this podcast, etc. We're always trying to get it better. And if you are a small business owner and you are interested in being a guest on our platform, just reach out and we'll share with you a link in order to get that going. So thank you for joining us. On behalf of Eunice, I'm Lee Johnson. We are the owners of Value Investment Partners, better known as VIP companies. We have many products and services to help our customers. So have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you again next week.
Have a good one.
Bye for now.
Thank you, Lee.